What is going on, Phoenix Suns fans? It has been a little bit since I last went live, and I figured, we are in the true dog days, the slow days of the NBA offseason. And besides all this Kevin Durant saga stuff that's going on, there's really not too much NBA news. So I figured, I've seen some other content creators do this. And I was on recently another show. Shout out to Let's Talk Hoops. I was on his show where what I want to do is interview as many content creators and people who like cover teams and follow teams. Truly, I want to get them on here, talk about the off seasons, ask them questions and everything. And I wanted to start with somebody who a lot of you guys already know. He's been on this channel plenty of times. My friend Super Mario Hoops. What's going on, man? Long time no talk. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, man, things have been good. Like you said, it's like the dog days of the off season. So kind of just like pushing through, talking about what we can, so maybe spicing up a little bit here and there. But yeah, man, as Akon once said, it's been so long that I haven't seen your face.
It's been a long time, man. I don't really remember last time I had you on because everything after the first round of the Phoenix Suns playoffs seems like a blur, to be honest. So, but yeah, I'm glad to have you back on. We're gonna probably just ramble for about a minute longer, get some more people in here. But I appreciate everybody that's in here. Do me a favor, you guys. Either Hulk smash that like button or share the stream. As long as you guys are engaging in any way, shape, or form, that helps out the channel. I used to think it was all about smashing that like button, but I watched this one video and the guy was like, they really got to like leave comments and engage and share the stream. Either way, you guys, share the stream, get active in the chat, and it's going to be a great show. We're basically going to be just going over the Chicago Bulls off season. I'm going to be asking Super Mario Hoops here some questions. We're going to get his take on the Phoenix Suns off season and so much more. And if you guys have an NBA related question, if you want to ask a Chicago Bulls question or a Suns question, let us know. And let's get started, man. So last season, the Chicago Bulls went 46-36. I have some thoughts about that later. Phoenix Suns obviously had a historic season, 64-18. I'm not really going to go over who you guys lost unless you want to touch on that later. But you guys added my boy Goran Dragic, Andre Drummond, who, by the way, he's only like 28 or 29 years old. That's crazy. Seems like he's been in the league for so long. Somebody who I don't really know much about, Javon Freeman Liberty, Justin Lewis, and Dalen Terry from the NBA draft. So I just want to get your opinion on the additions. What did you think of the Bulls offseason in terms of adding players? Was there anybody that you lost that you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, I think for the most part, like our, I guess, major focus like from the offseason is from, the first two guys you named there, and then also our rookie Dalen Terry. I guess like starting with Dragic, I mean, yeah, like we are kind of like guard heavy already, but I think it's a good signing for the sense where it's like there's been rumors that like we don't know if Lonzo is going to be 100% by the time the season starts, and he's always had like these injuries. So like, getting a guy like Dragic, I mean, he's a veteran point guard, and really I think he's a little underrated right now just because, last year he sat out early in the year with Toronto, and then he basically was kind of sitting out until he went to Brooklyn near the end of the year. He didn't really get a chance to get into a rhythm. He kind of showed flashes of it, though, near the end of the year. And I think, honestly, like in a consistent role with the Bulls, obviously he wants to play here. He signed here. So, I think he'll be able to kind of like provide more from that level, provide some shooting, which we desperately needed last year. I mean, we're a high percentage 3-point shooting team, or at least we were last season, but like we didn't take a lot. Like I think most of the season we were like first in 3-point percentage, but we were like last in attempts. So it's like kind of misleading. So I think like he can provide like a veteran presence, a point guard that can slow things down a little bit, and kind of, I guess like keep, the troops together and stuff like that. Andre Drummond. Oh God. I mean,
the mystery Drummond, that is Andre Drummond.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I don't like about Andre Drummond is, the last few franchises he's been with, well, not really the Sixers. I guess he played pretty well there, but last few seasons he's ended the teams with the Lakers and the Nets, and basically those cursed images, like the one where he's imitating LeBron.
Yep.
And like
that went
peace
so
sign.
viral in the Suns community. But I do remember the peace sign when he was running the fast break.
I mean, you guys know for sure, like, the one against you guys. But I'm just worried that something like that's going to happen this year, and he'll curse us as well. Especially since he's never been out of the first round, and I want to win a playoff series. We haven't won a playoff series since this guy was on our team, freaking D Rose,
the GOAT, Derrick Rose,
right there too. But no, I think like with Drummond, I mean, yeah, he helps, I think, a little bit defensively, which might be weird saying that just because no one thinks of him really as a defender. But I think when you consider like his actual size and his strength, as opposed to like, Tristan Thompson, who is kind of like an undersized center, a little bit older, not as athletic as Drummond. And I think really Drummond, he's a really good backup, but I just don't think like the thing that made me like really not so high on Drummond for so many years is that like he was the focal point of the Detroit Pistons offense for so many years inside. And then also like, he just kind of got too much opportunity, like basically bringing the ball up like a point guard, and he still does that. And I think he'll do it less with, like I said, we got Lonzo, we got Caruso,
you guys got a plethora of point guards or guards. Yeah, you're right.
Kobe, Ayo, and now Dragic too. So I don't think it'll happen to that degree, and I think he'll be motivated. So I think there's that. And of course, like the one thing that Drummond brings, arguably, better than anyone. I know the stats won't show in the recent years, but just in terms of like from an intangible standpoint, he might still be the best rebounder in the league.
Exactly. That's what I was going to touch on. The Bulls rebounding has to be a little bit better of him on the court. Maybe screen setting as well, possibly a lob threat, especially with all those guards.
Right. And I remember too, like we were all, I think it was me, you, and Romp last year. Like we were all complaining like how like, oh yeah, like, we can't, our team stink at rebounding. And then we pulled up the stuff on there, and like I think the Bulls were like last,
right,
like at that point. So we desperately do need rebounding. And getting Drummond, I think, helps that. And then Dalen Terry, I think, he's kind of a versatile wing. In summer league, he was kind of more of a little do-it-all type of player. He's not like an elite shooter, but I think that's okay. I mean, he's solid. He's solid enough. Offensively, he can kind of do the little things on that end, and then defensively, I think he's kind of perfect. He's kind of like a bigger two guard. So I kind of like that. Keeping Lavine, keeping Derrick Jones Jr. was huge. Really, we didn't lose anything except like Troy Brown Jr., who was not really much of anything, anyways. And I mean, biggest thing of all, we kept Tony Bradley.
Your boy Tony Bradley, man. Yeah, Tony Bradley's the GOAT.
He's on the team for another year. So,
well, I felt like that was pretty optimistic what you said. Like, yeah, you guys lost some guys, but you're pretty much happy, I'm assuming, with the additions. I really liked your breakdown of Andre Drummond. I'm not gonna lie, I've always been a fan of Andre Drummond, and I really hope he does help you guys out on rebounding. And I think he'll be a good addition to the team. But you're right. I actually didn't know that he has never been past the first round. That's got to mean something. I'm not saying that's 100% his fault, but you might be seeing a trend there. So you're absolutely right. And then you mentioned Derrick Jones Jr. If I remember correctly, he had some injury issues last year, but in my opinion, he's a serviceable player. I think he might have been a little bit overpaid, but I know he's been good for you guys. He's an exciting player to watch when he is healthy. So I don't know if you know too much about this. Nikola Vucevic, is he going to get extended soon? I thought I read something about that, or I might have seen something on that. Do you know anything about that?
I mean, it's probably just speculation at this point. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it's guaranteed about it.
Right.
I feel like Vucevic is kind of like he's in a like this year is going to be pretty important for him because I mean, we've had him for 1.5 years now. The half year was kind of just like a whatever type of move, and then last year was kind of like the first year, like okay, like we bring in DeMar, we bring in Lonzo, but I think now this year, like. We're expected to have the full team together. And also you got to integrate Patrick Williams, who only played like about 10 games last year in the playoffs. So I think this year is kind of going to tell more of the story about Vucevic and whether he's going to be long-term or not. So
Right. So kind of like a make or break year, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if he will get extended. If he does, then it probably won't be like a crazy deal. But I don't know. It all depends on like what Vucevic wants. I mean, he's kind of actually been, like I guess like the head. I mean, he was kind of I guess the biggest reason why Dragic wanted to come to the Bulls. Like he was the one who recruited him. He recruited DeMar DeRozan to the Bulls because they both went to USC. So like he's kind of been like that main like I guess like off the court like communications leader, like trying to like recruit players. So I mean, losing him would probably be a big blow simply for that reason. And also, like, he's still one of the best centers in the league. I know, like, he has like, he didn't have a great year last year, especially by his standards, because I think people expect him to be like a top 7 or so center.
Yeah, like a borderline all-star, an all-star center. Yeah.
And last year he probably was like barely like better, like probably better than like just about half of the starting center, like probably like a mid-tier starting center. And I think like this year if he can just like hit the 3-point shot consistently, if he can just get a little better defensively, he doesn't have to be insane on that end, but early in the year he played really well defensively. And I don't know if part of that is because like we had guys like Lonzo and Caruso on the perimeter and made stuff like easier for him too, but I don't know. I'm just we'll see what happens, but yeah.
No, that's a great breakdown. I've always been a fan of Nikola Vucevic. I hope he has a better year. And that was kind of why I mentioned the Bulls record, 46-36. And again, I hate to use the Bulls were injured and that's why they didn't like win, or that's why they're out of the first round or whatever. But it's true. I really believe that for you guys. You guys got derailed by injuries, just like the Cleveland Cavaliers did. I'm sure we could have a whole conversation on them. But I really hope that you guys do stay healthier this year. And you kind of mentioned it with Nikola Vucevic. It's kind of like the first year you guys are all together, hopefully. Hopefully Lonzo comes back soon. I'm really excited for Patrick Williams to come back for you guys. Alex Caruso. I can go down the list. And then we mentioned the additions and everything. I'm really excited to see Goran play for you guys. And then Dalen Terry. Not sure how many. I don't know how all those minutes are going to go around because I didn't even mention your boy, Ayo Dosunmu. You guys got a lot of talented players over there. But I'm excited for your Chicago Bulls. So kind of 2 questions for you mixed in one. What are your expectations this year for the Bulls and or any predictions for the Chicago Bulls?
Well, my expectations, I mean, I expect to at least be a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. That's what we were last year. But honestly, like, I would not be surprised. I feel like people are kind of sleeping on us a lot. Just because of like how we ended last year, but and it's like, we did play quite a bit of good teams at the end of last year, but we played so many teams when we weren't healthy, right?
Yeah, you guys were derailed by injury.
Exactly, and not just injury, but like COVID. Like there was a time in the season where there was like 24 players that were out with COVID, and 11 of them were on the Bulls. Like
I remember that actually. I forgot about that for a moment, but you're right.
and they didn't like push back games like they did other teams and stuff like that. Like they made us play the Cavs, they made us play the Heat, they made us play the Celtics, I believe, like that. So it's like these are like losses that we probably shouldn't have, or at least like we should have like maybe 1 or 2 more wins there. And then like just the injury bug all year, like another fluke injury, the Alex Caruso one when Grayson Allen injured him. Like is that going to happen again next year where he's out another 6 to 8 weeks? So I don't know. I think like part of it was just getting unlucky. I think we very well could be a 50-win team. And honestly, if you ask me, I think we're a top 5 team in the East at the very least. I think, the Bucks and the Celtics are probably the top 2 teams. I think Philly did get actually better in this offseason.
They did.
And it seems like James Harden is like actually more motivated this year than he probably was last year. I don't know about the Heat. I mean, I don't want to like go too crazy on that, but I feel like they did get worse.
Dare you question the great Pat Riley?
But I mean, if you were to ask me, I'd probably bet that we'd probably be in the 4-5 matchup, probably with the Heat.
Yeah.
And I think we could beat them if we're healthy. I mean, I think honestly, we could beat a lot of these teams if we're healthy. They said that the Bulls could never, beat the good teams last year, but we literally had a 27-point turnaround fourth quarter against the runner up to the NBA championship.
Wow.
And we beat the Dallas Mavericks as well, who went to the conference finals. So I don't get this, like, and we beat the Bucks too. And like, that's when Middleton actually, like, I know he got hurt in that game, but we were beating him down like before that he got hurt. Like,
right. And that's why it's expectations and or predictions. And I think you did a pretty good job of summing that up. And you know what? I guess this question sort of ties in with what we just had that discussion with. Let's say you're talking to a casual Bulls fan here, or you're just talking to the casual NBA fan. What should Chicago Bulls fans be excited about this upcoming season, and why? I mean, is it because the Chicago Bulls, as you mentioned, are hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be healthy? You kind of said it's the first year that this team's all together. Maybe is it a certain addition to the team? Like, talk to a casual Bulls fan. Like, what should we be excited about for the Bulls this year?
Well, I think, like, being healthy is like something that
every team needs.
Yeah, every team needs, and like it's something the Bulls really haven't had in a while. Yeah, we weren't good like those 4 years we missed the playoffs, but even in those years, like, okay, like Lavine had a torn ACL, and then like Markkanen was injured a lot, and Otto Porter and Wendell Carter. Like, we really haven't had a healthy season in forever. It seems like the injuries have haunted us since like the 2012 playoffs, honestly. But no, I think, like, honestly, being healthy is something they should be excited about. But I think for the most part, is they should be excited about, like, next year. The Bulls are going to be a good team. Like, there hasn't been that sensation that they were going to be a good team since probably like the last 6-7 years or so. And I think that's kind of the main thing. We should expect playoff basketball again in Chicago, and I think, honestly, like, that's what the NBA needs. So
shout out to Harlem Vega. It says, "What's up, Suns Geek? I'm tuning in on my phone while the Arizona Cardinals versus the Cincinnati Bengals on the big screen." You're a real one, man. I appreciate you. Enjoy preseason football. That's a conversation for another time, because I know nothing about football, but I'm kind of excited for that first NFL game, though. I think it's the Rams and the Bills. From what I do know, that should be a good game. But we're not here for that. We're here for some Chicago Bulls and Phoenix Suns basketball. So I did a little bit of homework, if you will, on Zach Lavine, DeMar DeRozan. And if I got my numbers right, which I usually don't because I suck at math, according to Basketball Reference, Zach Lavine, his last 2 seasons, I know that he was like injured and stuff, missed some games here and there, but he averaged, this is the last 2 seasons combined, 25 points per game, 35 minutes. He played in 125 games, shot 49% from the field and 40% from 3, also with like 4 assists, 4 rebounds and all that. So, and DeMar DeRozan was amazing last season, MVP candidate. I think he averaged like 28 points per game. Do you see any room for growth from them? Do you have any thoughts about them being together and hopefully healthy? Does that make any sense? Like, do you have any expectations for them? Because obviously they're one of the best duos in the NBA. And my dog's breaking into my room right now.
I think, honestly, like, the biggest question mark between those two is just like Lavine's health. It goes back to his last season in Minnesota. And then we traded for him like when he had that injury too. But like, right. I don't know. I think, honestly, if Lavine's healthy, I know last year he had like a knee procedure in the middle of the year, and it kind of brought down, I think, like some of his athletic abilities for the second part of the year. That's why he was kind of playing more so on the perimeter. I think this offseason he's probably gonna get right and stuff. DeRozan, I'm not really like worried too much about him being like durable. I feel like he's one of the more durable players in the league. Yeah. And honestly, I think Lavine, he could probably have room for some growth. I think DeRozan at this point in his career is like what he is. He's he's going into his 14th season. I feel like we already know everything about DeMar DeRozan that we're gonna get. Lavine maybe could show a little bit more improvements. I'd like to see maybe Lavine take DeRozan, probably the DeRozan step that DeMar took when he was in San Antonio, as like a playmaker as well for others. If he can improve in that category, I think Lavine's defense is a little underrated. But
same here. I feel like we've always had that conversation too. I agree with you on that.
it's definitely not great. Like,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not bad either. Like, he's not one of these guys like, you know, like Trey Young or like John Morant who's getting like exposed on defense like every time. But I don't know. I think honestly, it's nice to have like a duo where it's like, you know, it's like, okay, today could be your night. Okay, now today could be your night. Because sometimes I feel like it's a little bit predictable, and I don't know. I feel like in the second half of the season, like I feel like DeMar was like trying to do a lot because Lavine was kind of like not at 100%, and then teams could kind of like figure us out a little bit more too. But like having these guys too, and also, you know, if we do have Lonzo by the start of the season, he's one of the best, I think, playmakers, setting up teammates, running in transition too.
Good defender too.
I mean, early in the year last year, we were calling it, or at least I was calling it, like Showtime in Chicago, and like he kind of makes it Showtime in Chicago, and also like, you know, Lavine I think feeds well off of that too. So I think honestly like the Lavine Lonzo combination would work out well. And I think Lavine, he's shown moments where he can take over a game down the stretch.
Oh yeah,
and we've definitely seen that with DeMar, especially last year. So I'm excited for it again.
Good, man. I just feel like the Chicago Bulls on paper have a lot of weapons, and I'm excited to see them, especially at the start of the season. I hope you guys stay healthy, and we'll see you in the 2023 NBA Finals. Let's move on.
A 30-year anniversary for 1993.
Dude, that would be so awesome, dude.
That would be crazy. Only if it's the same outcome, but
right. But we're going to move on real quick to the Phoenix Suns. I got a few questions for you, and then we can, you know, I'll ask you an NBA related question. If anybody in the chat wants to ask us a question, and then we'll probably cut it off there. So, you know, Phoenix Suns, they made a few small additions. This is still trending. We're going to have to see what actually happens here. You probably know what I'm about to get to. You know, they added Damian Lee. Jacques Lindell signed Dwayne Washington to a two-way, and then Ish Wainwright, I almost said Ish Smith, Ish Wainwright, who was on the roster last year, also came back for a two-way and is eligible again to possibly be on the roster. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but not the greatest, you know, off season, but not the worst. I've been pretty vocal and a little bit negative, and you know me, I'm a pretty optimistic, you know, Phoenix Suns fan, basketball fan in general. Wasn't too thrilled with the Phoenix Suns running it back, but then again, that is trending, and I'm not necessarily just talking about the Kevin Durant thing, because there's been Jay Crowder trade rumors. You never know what could happen with like a campaign or Landry Shamet or even a Torrey Craig. I hate to pick on those guys, but I'm just speaking facts here. So I guess my question. What's that?
You shouldn't hate it if it's Landry Shamet.
Exactly. So I guess my question is, how do you view the Phoenix Suns offseason as of right now? Keep in mind, you guys, if you're watching this in the future, it is August 12th. Kevin Durant could be traded tomorrow. Who knows? So right now, how do you view the Suns offseason?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the Suns had it. It's like they didn't really do anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like, running it back pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I think Okogie could be nice defensively.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention him. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, he kind of is like, I feel like he's always been a little bit similar to like Torrey Craig. So it's kind of like adding another one of those players. I think probably the best addition would probably be like Dwayne Washington Jr. I think he's a little bit underrated. I got to see him play live when he started.
Nice.
And it was the game that DeRozan hit that game winner.
Game winner, yeah.
But yeah, so like he didn't really play the greatest, like shoot the ball, but he kind of did a lot of the little things. So I think like he could kind of provide that as well for the Suns. He's
low key a microwave too, man. He can get hot fast.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of microwaves too, like I mean, Damian Lee could also be that too. I think he's a pretty solid shooter. I mean, especially you guys lost Holiday. I mean, Holiday's probably a better defender, but it's not like he really lost much of any. Like, I feel like Holiday wasn't.
Josh Okogie's a great defender, so you know.
And he covers that too. And then you guys got who else? Jake Paul.
Jake Paul, yeah, Jake Paul, aka Jacques Lindell, who literally looks like Jake Paul. And I'm pulling up the roster right now, but yeah, I think that was. And then we brought back Ish Wainwright as well.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen on Jacques Lindell, he looks pretty solid. So.
Yeah, I mean, I saw bits and pieces of him with the Spurs last year. I mean, it's hard to give a take really when you're playing on such a bad team and you're playing like such limited minutes. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that works out. Yeah, I feel like you guys didn't really add anything, but I feel like you didn't really lose anything either. I mean, like you lost Holiday and JaVale McGee, but like you had Ayton and you had Biyombo. Bringing back Ayton, I think, that's probably something that not a lot of people expected, and they just thought like,
I gave it like a 40% chance. I was like, I doubt he comes back.
I think I gave it like I think I was on here and I gave it like a 95% chance he leaves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So I didn't think he was staying, but honestly, like, yeah, the Suns didn't do anything, but maybe it could be something good, because I feel like it could work like how the Clippers did 2 years ago. Remember, after the bubble, and it's like they didn't really do anything. I mean, they added like Ibaka or whatever, but they didn't make any huge moves, and people were like, "Oh, the Clippers are just gonna choke again." But like, I think they kind of got rid of like, some of that bad vibe personnel, like in the middle of the season. They got rid of Harrell, they got rid of Lou Williams. Yeah, and I think honestly the new culture is like kind of what's made the Clippers like one of the teams people are optimistic about next year. I think the Suns are gonna get a bad rep, unfortunately, until maybe
rightfully so.
Yeah,
like they should trash us because we were trash in the playoffs.
They'll get a bad rep though until they can actually, get a chance to prove it, unfortunately. But I don't know. I think honestly, if they can, maybe they hash things out with, DeAndre Ayton, and to the point where it's like now everyone's on board. Maybe, I mean, some of the things, comparing it to that Clippers team, like people were talking about how, those Clippers were kind of like, I guess, like tooting their own horn before anything happened. And maybe like, the Sun, I mean, you saw the one thing too, where it's like Booker's like the Luka special, and like just things like that. I
don't want no trash talking this year for the Phoenix Suns, unless it's like a heat of the moment thing. I don't want these guys talking trash, because we should not talk any trash.
So I don't think they will, at least not anywhere near the degree they did. Yeah. So I think all that considered, like, I mean, if they can, I guess it's kind of like they have the talent to win. I mean, there's a reason they won 64 games last year. They were the best team in the league, right? So, I mean, I guess like thinking from that perspective, it's like, why would you change that up? They kind of, that was
kind of James Jones's mindset too. Sorry to cut you off. And I had a couple of my friends, like I was kind of like down in the dumps, and I was like, man, I really don't know if we should run it back and everything. And one of my friends and someone in my own comment section, pretty much, they both said the same thing pretty much. They're like, dude, we won 64 games for a reason. They're like, once the season actually starts, you'll feel a little bit better, and we're still going to be a contender no matter what, hopefully, and all that stuff. But they made me feel a lot better. And I did a couple polls on my social media, and people were like, yeah, run it back. But I'm still a little bit on the fence about that. I don't know, man.
Well, I think too, yeah, like, and looking at, so, the team as a whole, like Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges. I mean, like, that's just, I don't know why you'd want to change that up. And you think about like maybe like Chris Paul, like he probably had, I know he's had some up and down, like polarizing moments in the playoffs, but like, I mean, after his birthday, he had like 5 straight bad games. Yeah. Like, and I don't know if I've seen that necessarily from him in a playoff series. And even with that considered, still went to a game 7. And then in game 7, it was probably like the worst thing anything could imagine. Like if they replayed that game 7, like today, like there's no way, like, I'm not saying the Suns would definitely win, like, but
it wouldn't be that bad.
I would favor them, and I know at least some players will play well. Like literally every Suns player was awful that game.
And you know what? That's the thing. Like I talk to like people at my work and everything, and just people wherever, and I'm just like, it's not that they lost, it's how they lost. That's the whole thing. That's what I'm so like upset about. Yeah. You know what? Like we've seen some great 50+ win teams and 60 win teams losing everything. It's just how they, 73-9 Warriors, exactly. It's not that they lost, it's how they lost. But you're right, like running it back for the most part, as of right now, running it back is the smart thing to do. A lot of these guys are under contract. Ayton, Bridges, Booker, who just got extended and everything. Cam Johnson's, I think, eligible for an extension as well. And, there's also a lot of expiring contracts coming up too, which is why, we may not see some of these guys later down the road, or even, before this. I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens. before we talk about this Kevin Durant stuff, and I feel like we've kind of touched on it, Suns are going to be a contender, but do you have any expectations or predictions or just anything else Suns related before we talk about the Suns Kevin Durant saga that's going on?
Well, like you said, the Suns, they're definitely contenders.
Yeah.
I do think, this year's probably, it's going to seem like even more of a challenge, but I mean, that could also be a good thing because, if the Suns, overcome these other obstacles like the Nuggets who are getting healthy and the Clippers who are getting healthy, then it'll almost seem like last year will be like forgotten. Like no one's going to care about what happened last year. And this, like if they win the championship in 2023, then it's almost going to be like even greater.
Exactly.
So I would say honestly, like I don't think the Suns they're not going to care. I feel like too much about the regular season, like to that extent. Like they'll probably finish like third or fourth. I feel like a team like Dallas might like play really well in the regular season or something like that. Probably Denver too, because they usually do when they have their full strength.
The
team.
Warriors will be right there. Clippers maybe.
Yeah, Warriors, Clippers will be up there.
Yes.
But I mean, at the very lowest, the Suns, if they really didn't care about the regular season, would probably finish like fifth. But I think like realistically, they'd probably finish like maybe like somewhere between 2 and 4.
I can't see us falling anywhere past 4.
Yeah, so I think honestly, they'll definitely win in the first round. Depends who they play. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think they would probably, if I were to put like where I think they would map out in the West, I think they're probably the second best team in the West. We do have to see like the Nuggets again, but I mean, last time they played Denver, it was kind of like an obliteration. I mean, granted, there was no Jamal Murray.
They would have won that series if Jamal Murray was healthy.
But I still do think that the team to beat would probably be the Clippers. Just considering like, it seems like they kind of like fixed their, like their 2020 mindset a little bit. You're getting, I mean, Kawhi, Paul George, Norman Powell, John Wall, like all these guys are elite on both ends of the floor. I just feel like they have so many guys to do that, and they have a great coach too. So it's like that's probably going to be like the team to beat if you ask me. But I mean, it's not like the Suns can't beat them. I mean, they beat them in 2021. I know it's like, oh yeah, they didn't have Kawhi, but like the Suns were missing Chris Paul for 2 games too.
And we had some close games with them too, and we still ended up beating them. Feels like we beat almost every team last year, you know what I mean? But you are right. The Clippers are going to be really good. The Nuggets did get better. I thought the Timberwolves, we could probably have a whole podcast on the Timberwolves if you wanted. I think that a team that people are sleeping on is the Pelicans. I'm not just saying that because they almost beat us last year. I thought they had an excellent offseason. And there's probably like 2 or 3 other teams I'm forgetting about. We didn't even mention we kind of mentioned the champion right now, Golden State Warriors. So I don't know. We will see. So I guess this question's pretty simple. It's been the hot topic all offseason. Where are you on the Suns Kevin Durant thing? I guess simply put, should the Phoenix Suns trade for Kevin Durant? Do you see any kind of scenario where Durant ends up on the Suns, or are you just like, no, it's not happening? Move on, Suns geek. Like, what do you think, man?
I mean, I'd probably be leaning toward like the second point there. Like, just move on at this point. I mean, like,
quit making videos for clickbait. No, just kidding.
I mean, like, it'd be nice, like, to potentially get Kevin Durant, but it's probably going to cost you a young player like Mikal Bridges. Like, I was just talking to Romp about this the other day because there was rumors like, and no one even knows what to believe anymore. But it's like,
I know
there's rumors like a Durant and Harden.
There was like that video. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and I was telling Romp, I'm like, I mean, I don't think it's possible, but like, is there any possible way they could make a trade and keep Maxey? Like, I feel like that would have to be included. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Durant. So, I mean, doing that, like, it's like, yeah, you get better now, but like, how big is the window? And I feel like if Mikal Bridges were included and it would send Durant to the Suns, I mean, he's in his mid-30s, Chris Paul's in his later 30s. So then it would like, I mean, you're taking away an important piece down the line. So then years down the line when it's just Booker and Ayton, and then what else, really? I mean,
Cam Johnson, maybe. Unless he gets traded to Cam Johnson. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, man. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I've been, I don't know, I've kind of been on the ladder about the KD thing. Like, I've obviously, I mean, it's Kevin Durant, dude. Let's be real, you know?
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot to it. You got to trade player X, Y, and Z and a whole bunch of draft picks, but Kevin Durant, man, and some people were comparing it to kind of the whole Toronto Raptors thing, kind of, you know, when they got Kawhi, won a championship, he ends up leaving. But one thing that I try to remind people of is that Kevin Durant is under contract for 4 years. I know there's a whole thing where like, oh, well, the Brooklyn Nets gave him everything. He still wanted to leave. Knock on wood, but I feel like it would be a little different here if we did get KD. But also, you know, I'm also on the whole side of like, well, you know what? Ayton just got extended. Booker signed the max extension. Like I mentioned before, Cam Johnson's eligible for a contract. You want to keep this core together as much as you can. So I'm kind of on the fence about it. Do you have any final thoughts on the KD Suns saga?
I mean, I just feel like Kevin Durant, you know, I mean, it's Kevin Durant. He's one of the top, at least like probably 15 players of all time.
Yes, sir.
Like he's gonna thrive in any situation. But I think in terms of you know, the best fit for him probably would make him the most happy. The best situation would be a team where he can play around sharpshooters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is a big reason why he said he left OKC in 2016 to go to the Warriors. But I mean, obviously, he's not going to say he wants to go to the Warriors again because it's like that would just be a bad look. So I feel like for the Suns, it's like you got Booker and you got Chris Paul. But other than that, I mean, I don't know how many consistent shooters around him would be there. And, you know, like when you add a superstar player like that, like it's going to kind of, you know, everyone's going to have their eyes set on you. Like they're almost going to expect more out of the Suns, right? Like that Durant, Harden and Kyrie were together in Brooklyn. They hadn't won a thing. They only played like 16 games together, like the three of them. And they were still scrutinized when Harden left. And they're like, this is the biggest fail ever. So
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I kind of said that when this KD stuff started happening. I was like, you know what? Take the Phoenix Suns out of it for a minute. I was like, we barely saw what Harden and Kyrie and KD could do. And now let's just take Harden out of that. What if they somehow stay together? It'd be interesting to see what a Ben Simmons, Kyrie, and KD could do. I'm just throwing that out there. So
I think honestly, in terms of fit, like, you know, I mean, Chris Paul's one of the most unselfish players there is. I mean, Devin Booker, he's one of the best, like, you know, mid-range and three-point shooters in the league, at least in terms of like high volume and high efficiency. So it's like looking at all that, like that does fit well with Kevin Durant. I'm just looking at like, you know, the other guys, you know, because like he even said, like when he was with OKC, like he had no problems really with Russ. Now, whether he felt something different might be a different discussion, but like this is just what he said. But like he even called out like guys like Andre Roberson or whatever. And I feel like, you know, for the Suns, just like, you know, guys like, you know, Jay Crowder's a good shooter, but he can get a little inconsistent at times. You know, same thing with like Torrey Craig or now adding Josh Okogie. I mean, Damian Lee can go on a hot streak, but he could also go on a serious cold streak. DeAndre Ayton can't really stretch the floor like that other than like 12, 15 feet. So I don't know. Like, I don't know if it would like fit his like ideal mindset of like where he wants to play. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's pretty much it. I feel like, you know, I've watched a lot of fellow content creators talk about this KD stuff, a lot of fellow Suns fans who are content creators. I feel like a lot of things I feel like everything's pretty much been said about the whole KD thing, but it's kind of nice to get somebody else's perspective. And I know that you know your stuff about basketball, which is obviously why you're on here. And it's good to kind of hear your thoughts and perspective about it. So I guess we can kind of end the show on this unless we get like a hilarious comment or a good question like this or a comment like this. Half of Geek's hats for KD and cash considerations. By the way, I have a video on this channel, 60 plus Phoenix Suns hats. If you guys want to go check that out. And in like 2 more years, I'll do an updated one. Probably have like 90 by then. But
I think that's a one-sided trade. It would at least take all the hats.
Exactly. I love my Phoenix Suns hats too. We sort of touched on this. I'll ask it. What are the chances KD is on the 76ers? Let me just say this, and we kind of talked about it before we went live. I straight up don't know who to believe anymore. With all due respect to my guy Flex from Jersey, who, by the way, Flex from Jersey is the guy that talked about this and brought it and reported it way before Woj and Shams did it. Just so you guys know, he also was the guy that knew about the Chris Paul trade ahead of time. But anyways, I don't know who to believe, Shams or Woj, or even, I don't know. We're hearing so many different things. Like I made a video, about what Arizona sports radio host John Gambo said, because Gambo somehow had information that KD was supposed to be in Phoenix, and then Flex said he's not in Phoenix. I'm just like, I don't know. So, but chances of him being on the Sixers, you kind of mentioned it earlier. They probably have to give up Tyrese Maxey. Who else am I forgetting? Like
Tobias Harris, probably.
Oh yeah, definitely Tobias Harris for the filler. Maybe a couple of the bench guys, and maybe I don't even know their draft pick situation. Yeah,
one of them or something at least.
Like, how many picks do they have? Like, I could maybe see it happening, but they would have to give up a lot, man. I don't know what their bench would look. Same thing with the Phoenix Suns, man. I don't know what our bench would look like if we did make this KD trade happen. And that I've always been a big bench guy. Like, you gotta have a bench to win a championship.
And the bench for the Suns, I would already say, is kind of like not super great. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I feel like there's like of the contending teams, there's quite a few that probably have a deeper bench all around. So it's like, and that's what happened like when he went to the Warriors too. It's like they lost Barnes, they lost Bogut, and like all these other guys. So I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I guess stay pat. The Suns I mean, they're very capable of winning next year. Maybe just add like that 6-man like scorer off the bench. I know someone in the chat said like they said go get Bojan and Clarkson over KD. Like Suns could get those guys and keep McHale. That's what Mike B said. Like I feel like Clarkson could be good off the bench maybe. But yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, that's why I kept saying, man, I'm like, we're running it back temporarily, but I could possibly see maybe a mid-season move or a trade deadline move. Just never know, man. I'm a little cautiously nervous, excited for this season, like, but you know what? Let's be real, man. Despite my negativity, the Suns have a lot of good problems right now, and let's be real. Like a few years ago, that wasn't the case. A few years ago, we were, before even the bubble, we were one of the worst teams in the league, and we had no future, no direction, and now we're a contender despite what happened in the playoffs this year. So I guess we're going to end the chat. I do want to answer this guy's question. Well, I want to, but my memory fails me. So if you have any thoughts on this, and it's kind of a popular, like, what if too, like, what if Katie's foot wasn't on the line? My memory fails me. I don't remember anything about that series, but I do want to ask you one final question. Are there any teams that you are excited for this upcoming season? Let's get away from the Suns and the Bulls for a minute. You know me. I already mentioned the Pelicans I'm really excited for. I'm low-key cheering for the Sacramento Kings to finally end their 16-year playoff drought. By the way, Suns fans, you think it's bad right now for the Suns? It could be a lot worse, okay? On paper, the Sacramento Kings look really, really good. They also added a few guys just recently, like Quinn Cook. I think just today they added Sam Merrill or whoever. He can shoot. And there's probably like 10 teams I'm forgetting about that I should be really excited for. So any teams that you're excited for, what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, honestly, I'll give two teams that I'm excited for that are, I mean, they're both kind of like bad team. Well, actually, no, I'll give three. One of them's a good team though. The first team I'll go with is the Orlando Magic. I just think like, if they're healthy, I think Markelle Fultz, he's going to start the season healthy, which is nice because I think honestly he could still be, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say he's still going to be like a superstar, but I think he could still be all-star caliber. I think he's still like an elite true point guard in the league. And I think he's starting to develop the jumper back again. I mean, this guy was an elite shooter in college. And I think once he had like the pinched nerve thing, it kind of set him back, but I think he's starting to figure it back out again. He's a good defender too. And also speaking of good defenders, they should have Jonathan Isaac back, I would think, this year. So that would also help them too. And they're not going to be a great team probably, but 2-3
on
years
paper
down the line,
they could be good. Yeah.
2-3 years down the line, they could. I mean, they had the first overall pick in the draft, Paolo Banchero. I'm pretty high on Chuma Okeke as well. I feel like he's one of the more underrated young players in the league. And I mean, obviously they got Wendell Carter Jr. from my Bulls. So Franz Wagner, I just think all around Cole Anthony. They're just a pretty nice young team. The other young team I was gonna say, and this one I'm thinking about, like, I want to at least go to one game of them this year, and that's the Detroit Pistons.
Yes.
You know, I think Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. I said about Cade and I said about Jaden Ivey. I think both of them were the best player in their draft class, and that's the last 2 drafts.
Yep.
So I think getting those two, getting Jalen Duren, you know, Marvin Bagley, they got on the team now. I think honestly, when he came to Detroit last year, he kind of like revived his career a little bit. Like, people thought he was just gonna fall apart. Like, I think honestly, he could be, you know, one of their key guys going forward. You already got Sadiq Bey, you know, still got like Killian Hayes and stuff like that. So Isaiah Stewart. So I don't know. Hamidou Diallo had a pretty nice season last year too. So
yeah,
I'm kind of looking forward to them. And then the good team, I will say, is that I haven't really said already. I'm kind of excited for the Celtics. You know, like they just made the finals, almost won the champ. We're 2 wins away from the championship. But I think honestly, the moves they made, like, it seems like they didn't give up anything to get Brogdon, really, and
that
they
got
surprised
better.
me. Like, I think Brogdon's like one of the at least top 15 point guards in the league. You know what I mean? And
when he's healthy.
And I think honestly, like, I know people have said like he might come off the bench or whatever. Like, I think he'd be the 3rd best player on their team, behind only Tatum and Brown. And then also you got Gallinari off the bench. You know, Gallinari is my guy. So I don't know. It should be interesting to see. Like, they got both of them for pretty much giving up nothing. You know, they still got guys like Derek White and Grant Williams off the bench, Peyton Pritchard. And, you know, even though maybe he didn't make ideal adjustments in the finals, I still think Ime Udoka is one of the best coaches in the league too. So yeah, and their defense is nice as well. So we'll just see. As long as Robert Williams can stay healthy next year, I think honestly, like, they should be a team to look out for as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Celtics expert at all, but if I'm correct, they had one of the most improved defenses last year, which is probably a big reason why they made the finals. I think Ime Udoka is a good coach. They got a great culture and everything, great management and all that, and I'm really excited to see them. You mentioned the Orlando Magic. I kind of wanted to mention them. I've seen a few interviews with, I don't know if it's their GM or their team president, and they're really optimistic about what's going on over there, and it might take them a few years. I think they'd be exceeding expectations if they made the play-in tournament. But that team's really excited. They got a bright future. I mentioned the Kings and Pelicans and lots of teams I'm probably forgetting about. Don't sleep on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like I mentioned, they're plagued by injury last year. And again, those are kind of just a few teams off the top of my head. So
the LA Clippers as well. You know, they're going to be healthy. I don't know. I'm just excited to see, like, Kawhi and Paul George. I mean, they were healthy, like, the whole season, like, not this past year, but the year before. But then, like, the playoffs is, like, where it came and, like, ended. I don't know. I feel like, honestly, like, yeah, people can be like, the bubble happened and they had their chance. But I don't know. I think this team is, like, you know, better in terms of, like, the vibes and stuff like that, the team chemistry. Like, if they're healthy, like, it should be exciting to see, like, what they can do. As well. And I'm just excited to see Kawhi play again, because I've been seeing way too many people who forget how good he is, and it's kind of annoying. Like, I'll go just a little Kawhi thing. Like, freaking, this guy was playing better than anyone except maybe Kevin Durant in the playoffs just last year. And now it seems like everyone already forgets. I see people saying he's not a top 10 player in the league.
I know, I've seen that too.
And I'm like,
basketball fans have the shortest memories, I swear.
Like, Kawhi, dude, I don't know.
Kawhi Leonard could lock all of us up while injured. You know what I mean? That's how good he is. Let's be real.
He could do it without even making an emotional change. Like, he'll just be like,
exactly. A team that I forgot to talk about real quick, and then we'll probably wrap it up after this. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. I thought the Memphis Grizzlies had a really good offseason. I don't know if you agree with that. I think they're going to be one of the teams to beat in the West. Again, I would have to look up at their roster. That was just a team I kind of forgot to mention too. But yeah, man, any final thoughts? Any last minute teams you want to talk about, or anything you want to plug, like anything going on in your channel? I know you've uploaded a couple of videos recently. So any final thoughts, man?
Well, I know you said before this, like, I'm free to disagree and be like, I don't agree with that.
Go ahead and go for it.
I don't know if I agree with that about the Grizzlies. I feel like they got worse a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, they got a lot of young guys as well. But they're also stacked with young players, and I feel like their rotation's mainly set, but then they lose D'Anthony Melton, who I think is a solid, like,
he's
6-10 scorer off the bench.
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson as well, who started a lot of the times with them, and they didn't really get anything back other than like Danny Green, who's probably not going to play for them. So I don't know. I feel like, and also like Jaren Jackson Jr. I think is supposed to miss like 6 months.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. I knew he was injured, but I didn't know he was going to be out that long. I'm like, dude, that's insane, man.
I feel like the Grizzlies are going to have they're not going to be bad. Like, they'll probably still be a playoff team, but I feel like they're going to be a lower end.
Like 5th, 6th seed, maybe.
I think they might be in the play-in. I don't know. I'm high on the Pelicans just like you as well. So I feel like the Pelicans with Zion healthy, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, honestly, I'll, thanks again for having me on your show.
Of course,
Appreciate it as always. We'll have to do something on my channel. If you guys want to find me, I believe I typed in the chat earlier in here. I said, like, let's go.
Yeah, I think it's I think I linked your stuff in the description too. So yeah. You
can find me there, Super Mario Hoops24 on YouTube, and basically from there you could probably find my other socials.
Yes, sir. Yeah, go follow Super Mario Hoops on YouTube and on Twitter and Instagram. And I appreciate you being on, man. I just wanted to talk some Bulls and Suns. Like I said, it's the dog days in the NBA offseason. It's slow right now. We're definitely going to have to get you back on. And for everybody else, I do want to continue this kind of quote series. I want to get other content creators on here and pretty much have the same conversations, if not more. So, but Super Mario Hoops, definitely going to have to get you back on. Maybe we'll do like an NBA preview show right before the season starts or something like that. And definitely when the Bulls play the Suns, we'll have to try to get you on here. Once again, you guys go check out Super Mario Hoops. He's been on the channel plenty of times before. And also I love talking NBA history with this guy because you're one of the true people who really know NBA history. And I'm sure you and I could spend an hour or two talking basketball history. So, and the burner account says Super Mario with the baggy jersey. What a throwback.
Oh, yeah.
So, burner account, you're a legend, man. Your comments are hilarious. So, on that note, you guys, before we ended this, I heard my dog's freaking out. So, I hope that everything is okay. Shout out to Mike B. Appreciate you being here. Thanks to everybody that was here. If you're watching afterwards, guys, make sure to Hulk smash that like button, share the stream, engage with the video in any way, shape, or form. Check out Super Mario Hoops. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys.